Hi there, this is Jeanette, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how I created this elephant card. I'm going to be sharing with you how I created the background with Distress inks, as well as how I was able to get the mirror image of the elephant stamp. So let's get started. The stamp set I'm using is from Avery Elle. It's called Ellie, and it comes with, or it doesn't come with, but you're able to purchase coordinating dies. So I'm stamping the image on Nina cardstock using Tuxedo black ink from Memento. And then I'm taking a piece of acetate and I'm going to stamp the image again, and I'm being very careful not to sort of wiggle it or move it too much so it doesn't smudge. And then I'm laying it down on top of my cardstock and pressing it down. Now I'm going to be honest, this is the very first time I've tried doing this, and I didn't get a great image imprint with it, but I was able to salvage it by using my Copic multi-liner pen and just going over the outline. And because it's such a simple image and the lines are already quite thick, I found that it came up looking pretty good. So now we're going to color it. I am using different shades of warm gray, and the first color I'm laying down right now is my W1, and I'm just sort of adding that everywhere where I think it's going to be sort of darker, the shading. I'm going to add the cheeks with the R20, and then I'm going to start blending that and all the sort of lines with my W00. Once that's done, I am going to go in with my W3 and continue adding layers of shading down. So you can see the areas I'm putting it in, and for the most part I'm sort of going around the outline of the elephant. Then I'm going to take W5 and I'm adding it just in some little areas where I want the deepest shadow to be. And then I'll just blend all that out with my W3 before I continue. So now I'm taking my W1 and I am blending out all that W3. I'm blending all those lines out, and then I will take the W00 and complete coloring in my elephant. So once that's done, I am going to let that dry, and I'm going to move on to the next elephant, and I'm going to color him in the exact same way. So after I'm going to finish coloring this elephant, I am going to cut out the original one, the one I used with the stamp. I will use my coordinating dies to stamp that out. For the other elephant, I'm obviously not going to have a die that's sort of in the same, it's facing the same way because this is a mirror image. So I just am going to fussy cut it out, leaving a small border of white around it, sort of the same way as what happens when you use the die. So I'm going to do my best to make it look the same. So we're almost finished with the coloring. As you can see, it goes really fast. I like this stamp set because it has also coordinating balloons, and you're going to see I'm going to be using one of those soon. I'm going to be stamping that out. It also has tiny little critters, like a little bunny, and I believe it's a squirrel, and like bubbles, and quite a few sentiments. So it's a really, really nice set. So now that the first elephant has dried, the ink has dried a little bit, I'm just going in with my W1 and just putting a few dots in the shaded areas. And I just kind of like that detail. I think it adds a little something. So now I'm taking the balloon stamp from the same set, I was just mentioning it before, and I'm going to go color it in. And my shading will be such that I have the darkest areas right around the edges, and as you work into the center it's going to become lighter. So you can just see I'm working from light to dark and then back again, And these markers actually I liked the color I got from it. It's sort of a pinky red. It's a really pretty color. And you can see I'm just sort of working at it and adding layers of ink until I get it blended out. Here I'm just taking up some of that darker color with the lighter marker, and that gives you a really nice blend. So then I cut out a piece of watercolor paper, and I'm going to be using these 3 colors of distress ink. This is Squeeze Lemonade, and I'm putting it in the middle, and then I'm going to put on Salty Ocean. So where the Salty Ocean is going on the side is going to be quite aqua, quite blue, but as I blend it onto the yellow, I'm going to get this really nice sort of green color. And that's what I really like about working with distress inks. And you can just go back and forth. You're going to see I worked at it quite a bit, back and forth, blending until you get the look you want. And then I'm just going to darken up the edges there. And then I'm going to use Spiced Marmalade for the bottom. So I'm going to have a really nice sort of dark orange at the bottom. And as it works its way up and it blends with the yellow, it's going to become a little bit lighter. So the only thing you have to be careful with is that when you're I always sponge the excess off onto my craft mat. Just make sure you're not picking up the other colors when you're doing that. And so you see it gets sort of a nice rainbow effect. Now I did leave this for a little bit of time to make sure that all the ink had dried. Because it's distress ink, you do have to leave it for a little bit of time. And I used my embossing buddy, and this is a stamp from Stampin' Up. It's from their gorgeous Grunge stamp set. And I'm just stamping that a couple of times with Versamark ink just along the top of my card. And the white that I'm going to be putting on it, I'm going to be putting white embossing powder on it. It sort of just makes everything pop a little bit more. So I really like that sort of added step. So I'm just flicking off the powder there, making sure there's no powder clinging to areas I don't want it to be. And then I'm just going to take my heat tool and I'm going to heat that up. I am going to go ahead, I do have embossing powder on my mat there, so I was careful to wipe it away because I don't want that to sort of get heated onto my craft mat. So also don't have this on top of my craft mat, I'm sort of holding it a little bit away. So then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go over it with my embossing buddy, and that just takes away any static. And I'm using a stamp set from Fawn. I think it's their birthday tag stamp set. And there's a cute sort of celebrate stamp from there, and I'm stamping that in the middle just along the bottom, and then I'm going to emboss that as well. So you can see how nice the white embossing powder sort of shows up against these colors. So that's the background of the card. Just going to clean off my stamps. And now I have an A2 top folding card that I made. And then just a piece of, I'm not even sure what color or what company that mat is from. It's just sort of a dark teal color. I thought it was a nice contrast to the background, and I'm just going to make sure it's positioned perfectly before pressing it down, and then I'll add that to the top of my card. So now I'm just going to check the placement of my elephants, and I really like that I have the 2 elephants sort of facing each other, they're sort of both holding the balloon. I think it's really cute, And I was happy that I was able to get that mirror image using the acetate. So now I'm just using some zig glue to glue down the balloon. And I think, yeah, I'm using my zig glue to glue down the elephants, just sort of place them exactly where I want them to be. And then I'll take my acrylic mount and I'll just put it upside down on top of that just to make sure they dry flat. And then once that's dry, my card is done. So thank you very much for watching this video. A supply list will be at the end of this video and also linked on my blog and below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching.